go?
No, I need to talk to Phipps.
No, we need to go, unless you want an audience for that discussion. You know, the kind of audience with guns we haven't got.
Damn it!
Go on, go now while you still can.
You're coming with us.
What? Let go, you crazy fool! This is crazy!
Look, your original idea to lay low has been compromised. I'm sorry, but you're just going to have to get used to a high profile.
Stop right there, you fuckers.
Stephen Brown, you and your accomplices are under arrest. The presidential elite would like to ask you a few questions.
This inquisition has been called by the Commission for Justice on Mellowstone to investigate the almost catastrophic temporal anomalies that are affecting our planet. We have present myself, we have Head of Security Poitier, who will also be acting as recorder. We have Her Honour Judge Durnett, who will be Chief Inquisitor. We have several Royal Guards, and we have Lieutenant Craven here, who will also be our Chief Agent and Inquisitor.
You will give your name and outline your family links for the benefit of his court.
Stephen Brown, son of Simon and Calder Brown, once a citizen of the free world of Rubart, now prisoner to a corrupted administration.
I can't take this anymore. They've got him up there in some squalid room asking him questions. That's what you want to call it. And I'm down here and I should be up there defending him.
Which is why they're keeping you down here. And me too. Our version of events were timed with his, and so it's not what they want to hear. They don't just want to blame him for this. They need to.
I guess you're right. I mean, if he wasn't around, they'd have to do a thorough investigation, wouldn't they? And that wouldn't really serve their interests. He makes a convenient scapegoat in all this to Steve.
Yeah, well, they're idiots. And it won't get them any nearer to solving the problem. If he was responsible, then he could help them. As far as they're concerned, they'd much rather the public saw they were punishing someone than they actually got to the bottom of what's causing the problems, even though their universe might collapse in who knows how long.
And you've got some idea about what's causing all this?
Well, I did. Things keep changing.
Meaning?
When we started off, I was pretty sure that Red was the Omega child. Now, I'm not so sure.
But you said that the Omega child was the only one that could be causing the sort of cataclysmic time shifts that we've been experiencing. And, well, Red's been the one that you've been chasing.
As long as we've been chasing him, I'm seeing behaviour that doesn't really fit in with a pattern. The sort of crazed and power-hungry thing he's been doing, it doesn't fit in with what's happening elsewhere. I mean, he's been concentrating on Earth. The sort of wanton, destructive thing he's doing there, it doesn't fit in with the systematic unravelling that's been happening in other galaxies.
You're saying that the Omega child would be more interested in focusing on Rubart than Earth?
Exactly. Plus, it's the way he talks. It's like this ability to travel through time and space is a gift to him, a brand new toy. If he was the Omega child, he'd have been aware of it since birth. He'd have been living with it every day. And even as big a jerk as him wouldn't be quite as smug about it as he's being.
Have you spoke to Steve about this?
I think he's got more pressing concerns just now.
And you deny responsibility for these time shifts?
Until recently, if time even matters anymore, I had no knowledge of them.
And yet, your companion android, Anna, had data relating to them stored for some time.
She was designed to record vast amounts of knowledge. Some she shared, but most she didn't.
One can imagine. She seemed to be the perfect culprit, either that or your other machine, until we notice a creativity and imagination involved in some of these disturbances. Fingerprints, if you will, of a conscious being. We therefore accept that they may merely have been accomplices.
I've already told you I have nothing to do with these time rifts.
If I may, Your Honour, I feel I could somewhat contribute to this inquisition.
By all means, Lieutenant Craven, the floor is yours.
It seems to me, Mr. Brown, that no other suspects are currently forthcoming.
And why would they? And why would I return to Rubart if I'm guilty?
Perhaps the egotism of a man who feels he is in control. Or perhaps the deliberate act of a man who feels he is about to begin the final stage of his plan. Destruction of a world who rejected him and labelled him a criminal.
I accepted a long time ago I wouldn't receive justice on Rubart.
You have no trust in our legal system, Mr. Brown?
As it presents itself to me now, no.
It seems, Mr. Brown, that you consider yourself to be above the law, that you follow a different set of rules.
You're a fine one to talk about following rules.
You will not insult an official of this government, Stephen Brown.
If that's what you call him.
And what else is he?
An imposter. A deceiver.
Lieutenant Craven is an impeccable citizen of the planet Rubart, with a career stretching back to his graduation from the academy.
A falsified nonsense. He hasn't spent years on Rubart. I spent the last few centuries chasing him around on Earth.
A fanciful notion. If you really are innocent of these crimes, then what of the living evidence incarcerated below us? The tests we have conducted reveal that the person you brought with you to this planet, who aided you in resisting arrest, also shares your same genetic code.
It seems you've become so corrupted with this power of yours that you've been prepared to bring another version of yourself into this universe. This not only shows a crazed self-obsession, but a wanton disregard for the disastrous consequences of such an action.
Actually, I found him. I had this overwhelming feeling that the only person who realised the enormity of the situation and have the motivation and the skills and tools to help me with it was me.
But isn't that really dangerous? I mean, everything I've read about time travel says that, well, that causes the sorts of things that we've been seeing.
Well, yes and no. I mean, we're talking about two different things. If you, me, for instance, met myself from within the same time stream, that presents serious difficulties. If a past and future version of themselves meet, well, for the past version of yourself, you suddenly have an expectation on the rest of your life, an idea that in future you will meet yourself. Your entire thinking for the rest of your life will be affected by trying to make sure that meeting happens. In fact, the very fact that you know the meeting happens might mean that it never happens in the first place. The fact that you have this knowledge creates a problem that means the knowledge itself will never be fulfilled. And if you didn't meet yourself, then what do you do with the fact that you just met yourself?
Huh?
If, on the other hand, you're the future version of yourself, well, that's a whole different set of problems. The future version of yourself, upon meeting the past version of yourself from the same time stream, would suddenly have memories of an event that hadn't previously occurred. Those memories would start to affect the rest of your existence. By having those memories, you would have a memory of that meeting, which then, as you talk to yourself, you would add new memories too. So each time you remembered something, you'd be responding to a memory that then was actually only beginning to actually happen. Therefore, you would create a problem that really creates this kind of skew in time that one can't really recover from.
You're giving me a headache.
I imagine the migraine from meeting yourself then.
What would you do in that situation? Is there ever a positive outcome of that meeting?
Well, there's ways one can assure a positive outcome. If you're the past version of yourself, well, I would immediately shoot the future version of myself. And then I would pledge never to go back in time, and therefore I'd eliminate that particular future version of myself from ever existing.
And what about if you were the future version of yourself going back to see the past version of yourself?
Well, I'd just try and avoid that meeting as much as physically possible.
Because you don't want to actually interrupt the causality of the sequence of events that necessitated the meeting in the first place?
No, I just wouldn't want to get shot.
Oh, God.
But in our situation, actually, it's a lot more benign than that. At the end of the day, Steve and I, well, we don't have anything to do with each other. We don't affect each other at all, other than the fact that we're basically the same person.
But, okay, I mean, what's that even like, meeting him, well, you?
It's quite nice, really. Seems a nice chap. Interesting dress sense. Caring. Wants to change the world. Likes a nice cup of tea. All quite familiar to me, really. decent chap. I mean, when we started talking, he talked about his mum and dad, and well, that's my mum and dad. Not very different at all. He was going through memories, and they're my memories. I remember when things started to go wrong for them.
God, you're incredible, amazing.
Words of praise from you, Simon Brown. Now there's a novelty.
Oh, don't try and be clever. I'm incredulous that you should bring that stuff with you on a family holiday. I take it for granted you can't be away from it in your back home in your normal pathetic existence, but to bring it here!
Well, you're here, aren't you? When you're about. I need my stock so that I can survive and endure living with you.
Call that survival?
It's a huge release from the pressures and having to live with a selfish, single-minded man like you.
No wonder the boys want to be shot of us. It wouldn't surprise me if Stephen wanted to go off soon. God, you're pathetic!
And you are pure vermin!
So is it true to say that the troubled past you've had has contributed to your careless attitude and the risks you're prepared to take?
I have no desire to answer such a loaded question. The way you ask that, it seems like you already have your answer. My past is of no concern to you. It has nothing to do with what I'm being tried for. But I have a question of my own. Is that permitted?
You may ask, Mr. Brown, but we reserve the right not to answer.
When will my proper trial begin? When do you intend to conduct these affairs at an open and public forum?
That won't be necessary.
If I'm as much of a danger as you think I am, then don't you think the public deserve to see this notorious criminal receive his justice?
It was never the intention to hide your punishment from the public, Mr. Brown.
Craven is correct. We intend to make an example of you.
And yet you don't intend to show the public the process by which justice is served.
We don't intend to give you the opportunity to stir up more trouble amongst those more divergent members of our society who would cause trouble with the harmonious and orderly way of life on Rubart we're trying to establish.
Harmonious and orderly? More like homogenised and ordered.
That sort of viewpoint is exactly what we wish to protect the public from.
And that is why, Mr. Brown, we have men such as Craven to keep a close eye on what radicals like you were trying to accomplish, and a tight grasp on those who will poison the minds of the public against the administration.
Well, it seems to me you've been having this problem without my influence.
But your interference, rather than your influence, will make it worse.
So, no fair trial then?
So, you don't trust us, public officials, to conduct these proceedings correctly?
Not since my forceful arrest at gunpoint, starvation, sleep deprivation and beatings, no. So without a jury of my peers, or any neutral witnesses...
Mr. President, sir, there's a message here...
Poitier, I ask that we not be disturbed.
But sir, this is serious!
I don't care, Poitier.
What the hell was that?
I think I know. And I hope I'm wrong.
Oh, what do you mean?
Well, what did it sound like to you?
There's something hitting the ground really, really fast and really, really large.
A crash landing, right?
Yeah, a little meteor.
I wish it was that random.
So what are you tracking?
I'm doing the best I can, sir.
What do you mean you recognise the sound?
Who'd have thought I'd ever be pleased to hear it?
Hear what, man?
Sir, they're landing all over the planet. One next to each major city.
What's landing?
Machines, sir. Huge machines.
Damn it, man. What are they?
It's the start of something I've only seen once before. And I never want to see it again.
What is it, Brown? What the hell's going on?
Well, what you have in your hands, Mr. President, is a tough invasion.